Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, and now here I am to finish off the month with these Star Trek movie reviews. Now here I am to finish these reviews with review of Star Trek Beyond. I think that this movie is good. I mean, yeah, it's good, but yeah, that's probably all it is, just like good. I mean, not like really good or anything. I mean, yeah, out of like these three like reboot Star Trek films, I would probably say that this one is probably the weakest of the three. I mean, yeah, I mean, it does like have some benefits to it. Like, thankfully, like J.J. Abrams was not the director of this film. This film was under the direction of Justin Lin. And yeah, luckily, thankfully with this movie, like, the effects are definitely, like, cut down. Like, this movie isn't, like, really, like, overblown with a bunch of effects like the first two were. So, yeah, I guess that's a benefit. That's something that I actually do like about this film more than the first two of this series. Yeah. So yeah, this film does seem to like kind of focus more on the story of this film, yeah. But at the same time, like one of the reasons that I really think that this film really is the worst of the three is just because like the plot and the story for this film it's just like pretty difficult to follow. I mean, there's just like so much going on in this film that it's kind of like hard to keep up with what's going on in this film. I mean, we have like once the Enterprise like crashes down on Ultimate, we have like the crew like split up. Like we have like one set of people with like Sulu, Uhura, and like other survivors being captured. We have like Spock and McCoy with each other, and also like Kirk and Chekhov are with each other. And yeah, just have like it's going like back to back to back with like all of them like in their separate situations. It's not like Voyage Home where it's like they did all split up to get everything they needed for their mission, but I mean, the focus on that was mainly on like Spock and Kirk. Like it did cut to the other crew members, but it was mostly like focused on Spock and Kirk and what their task was. But with here, it's just like it goes to one spot, one of the people, like one of the crew, and like it shows them doing their stuff, and then it goes to another part of the crew and with them, and then another with them, and it just like keeps going around and around, and it's just like hard to keep up with everything, up to the point where they like all like reunite with each other. So yeah, and even like once like the crew does reunite with each other, just like once they like come in contact with the villain with this movie, just like a lot of that just keeps like hard to keep track of too, cause like there's just like a bunch of battling going on. It's just like hard to keep track of where everyone is and stuff. Yeah, but I mean, do think that this is still overall a good movie. Yeah. I would probably give this movie, I don't know, 3.25 stars out of 4. Yeah. So yeah, this one will probably go like right below like Into Darkness probably. So yeah, as far as now how I would rank all the Star Trek movies, it would probably be Wrath of Khan's the best, then Voyage Home, and then three-way tie between Undiscovered Country, First Contact, and the 2009 movie, then Into Darkness, then this film, then probably Search for Spock, and then maybe like probably Generations, and then Insurrection, Motion Picture, and Final Frontier would be the worst. That's probably how I would now rank all of the films from the best to worst. So yeah, and yeah, now with seeing this, I can now say that I've watched all the Star Trek movies, which I did not do when I started these reviews. So yeah, at least now, by watching this movie, I can now say that. And yeah, one of the things that I did like about this movie is kind of like an homage or something. I don't know if that was the intent, but yeah, around like the end of this movie, it shows like Spock looking at a picture, and it actually does show like the original crew of like the original cast of the original Star Trek series from like one of the original series movies, and it actually shows the cast of there. Like it shows like Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner and all the other original cast of the Enterprise crew members. So I actually did think think that was pretty cool, and I did like how they showed that. And yeah, it was kind of interesting to see, like, maybe it was kind of like showing that maybe like this series is like taking place like sort of like in the same universe as like the original series did, and like just saying like this is a new timeline or something. So yeah, that was kind of interesting to see that. Yeah, and there's also like sometime like early in this movie, like showing that the older version of Spock has also like died, and yeah, it's kind of like similar to like it showed like when because this film was like after when Leonard Nimoy had died. So yeah, I kind of like interesting to see that, and yeah, kind of like this film, since this film was also like in dedication to Leonard Nimoy. Yeah, it's just kind of like they showed like the older Spock in these movies has died. So yeah, it was interesting to see that. So yeah, kind of like some good homages in this film, and yeah, overall a pretty good movie. Just like as I said, just like it gets kind of hard to follow. So yeah, let me just get right into the movie. Alright, so the movie starts off as the Enterprise is like 3 years into their mission that they started to embark on at the end of Into Darkness. And yeah, the Enterprise arrived at Yorktown, which is just like a huge space station, and they're like are stopping there to like resupply and shore leave for the crew. Yeah. And like it's then showing well, Kirk is like applying that because he wants to be promoted to the Vice Admiral for the Enterprise. And he's asking for Spock to be his replacement as the captain. And yeah, and then it's just showing like there's like a bunch of stuff going on. Like it has like Sulu reuniting with his family, and Scotty is working to keep the ship operational. And then it's showing like Spock and Uhura are just like ending their relationship right here. And then yeah, Spock also got like word that his older self has died. Yeah, just like a bunch of stuff just like suddenly like coming at us, and it's just like yeah, like I said, this is like just what makes the film kind of hard to keep up with, just because there's a bunch of stuff going on like this. Yeah. And then later on, just the Enterprise then is out on a rescue mission after there was an escape pod that drifted to an uncharted nebula nearby. And then, like, Kalera, the occupant, claimed that the ship was stranded on Altamid, which was a planet within the nebula. And then, as the Enterprise was, like, entering the nebula, there was just, like, a huge swarm of small ships that were ambushing the Enterprise. And then, showed that Krall, is that how it said, though, who was the leader of the swarm, and his crew, who then just boarded like the Enterprise, which was crippled, and then they were trying to search for a relic that Kirk actually had obtained, which was the Abernath. And yeah, they of course were unsuccessful in their search for that. And Krall eventually captured or like a bunch of crew members from the ship and removed them. And then the Enterprise also ended up being cut into pieces. And then eventually Kirk just gave the order to abandon the ship, and then the remains just then crashed down onto Altamid. And then yeah, it just showed like on Altamid that Sulu, Uhura, and a lot of the other survivors were captured by Krell, and then like Spock was also like wounded in another part of the planet, and McCoy was like tending to him, and Spock and McCoy were just searching for survivors. And at the same time, like Kirk and Chekhov also like were joined by Kalara, and then yeah, she was just then like just accompanying Kirk and Chekhov to locate the saucer section of the Enterprise. And then and once they eventually discovered that they would be attacked, they just ended up tricking Kalara to reveal herself as the spy for Krell. And then like Kirk and Chekhov were then just like pursued by Krall's other soldiers, and then eventually Kirk and Chekhov ended up flipping the saucer over, and it just ended up crushing Kalara. And then, like, with Spock and McCoy, Spock then was just telling McCoy that he actually hadn't intended to leave the Starfleet to continue with his older self's work. And, like, one of the scavengers who also escaped the encampment of Krall, Jayla, is that how it's said? She ended up, like, finding Scotty and rescuing him and took him to her makeshift home, which was, like, the USS Franklin, which was kind of like just a grounded ship. Yeah. And it was like also like an early vessel that was reported missing, like more than a century ago. And then eventually, like, Scotty, Kirk, Chekhov, McCoy, and Spock all reunite with each other. And then they eventually ended up repairing the Franklin. And then they ended up, like, raiding Krall's camp. And with the use of Jayla's technology, then the rest of the crew was transported aboard the Franklin. And then they ended up escaping the planet. And then, like, Krall was also, like, coercing Ensign Syl to hand over the Abernath to him that she was actually hiding for Kirk. And then, yeah, she just ended up being dissolved almost completely with the use of the Abernath. Which was also, like the missing half of the aid of the weapon that was able to disintegrate any humanoid. Yeah. And once the device would be complete, then Krall had intention to attack Yorktown and kill all the inhabitants, and before he would go to attack the Federation. And then, yeah, Kirk and the crew ended up being free. Well, they ended up, like, freeing the crew as Krall ended up, like, launching into space to lead the drones to Yorktown. And then, yeah, the rest of the survivors of the Enterprise then just ended up pursuing them in the Franklin. And yeah, and then eventually Scotty then just transported Spock and McCoy into, like, the swarm of ships. And then they ended up, like, jamming and disorienting the swarm by, like, they ended up, like, playing the Beastie Boys song Sabotage over the channels and stuff, and then, yeah, just about the entire fleet ended up being destroyed. And then it just ended up, like, there were 3 survivors left along with Krall, and then they just ended up, like, crashing the ships into Yorktown. And yeah, Krall just ended up, like, fleeing right into the starbase, and Uhura and Kirk eventually discover from the logs in the Franklin that Krall is actually, like, Balthazar Edison, who was actually the captain of the Franklin before. And he was also, like, a pre-Federation human soldier. And he ended up, like, rejecting the Federation's principles of unity with the cooperation with the former enemies. And then, after, like, him and his crew ended up being stranded on Altamid by a wormhole, the other survivors used the technology from the extinct natives of the planet to prolong their lives at, like, others' costs. And then they also, like, repurposed the dormant drone workers into the swarm. And he now had the plans to destroy the Federation and resume his galactic conflict because he felt that the Federation had abandoned him. And then, yeah, Kirk just ended up then pursuing him into the ventilation system of Yorktown, where then Krall or Edison ended up activating the bioweapon. But before it could actually get unleashed, Kirk then just ended up, like, ejecting Edison, and as well as the weapon, out of Yorktown, and he also ended up being disintegrated into space, and the weapon ended up being lost forever, and Kirk was also about to, like, be blown into space also, but Spock and McCoy ended up saving Kirk just moments before he was about to be launched out too. And then, yeah, it then, like, just showed Spock looking at the picture of, like, the original series cast list of the Enterprise crew, which, like I said, was interesting and good to see. Yeah, yeah. And then, yeah, afterwards, then just Commodore Paris then ended up just closing all the cases that were solved of Captain Edison and the Franklin crew. Yeah. And then Kirk then decided to remain as the captain of the Enterprise, and Spock then also decided to remain in the Starfleet. And Jayla also was accepted into the Starfleet Academy after Kirk recommended it. And then, yeah, Kirk's birthday was just then, like, celebrated. And the crew was just, like, waiting for completion of their new ship, which was the Enterprise A. And then, eventually, they then just departed on their next mission, and then it just ended with the crew, like, each member of the crew, like, seeing apart from where where no man has ever gone before monologue, and then the ship just then flew off into space, and that's how it ended. So yeah, a good film, I would say. Yeah, not a really good or great one, just because it's so hard to follow, but still a good film. Like I said, 3.25 stars out of 4. Alright. Alright, so yeah, that does it for a review of Star Trek Beyond. And yeah, that does it for all the Star Trek movie reviews. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed these Star Trek movie reviews for those of you who did watch these. Yeah, and apparently now, like, there is, like, another Star Trek sequel. I guess it's now in the works, and it'll be, like, another sequel to this film. I don't think it has any confirmation yet. Yeah, its title's not revealed yet, neither is its release date, so yeah. Not sure when, like, there will be another sequel added to it, but, yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I don't think another sequel has actually been, like, officially announced yet, but yeah, it has shown, like, that Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto and yeah, pretty much all the crew for these Enterprise crew cast members for these films will return. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to see where it goes. But alright, so anyway, alright, so that does it for these Star Trek reviews throughout the month. I hope you guys enjoyed these reviews throughout the month. And yeah, now I can say I've seen every Star Trek film in history. Alright, so yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy these reviews if you did watch them. Alright, so yeah, thanks for watching, and until my next video, live long and prosper.